For the past 5 years, I have faced calamity, having been walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Even though I am facing colon cancer stage 2, my love for God is still intact. My name is Apostle John Paul Moses Macharia Mureithi, and this is my story.
At times, when facing a calamity, many of us Christians tend to shift our eyes from where our help comes from and focus on our distress.
Kizazi changu ni kizazi cha baraka, hey, mimi mteule wa Bwana. Kizazi changu ni kizazi cha baraka, sina mpango wa kuishi masikini, maana Mungu aliyeniita anaweza.
When the world started caving in for Apostle John Paul Moses Macharia, his faith in God remained intact, abiding under the shadow of the Almighty. The songs, the dance, and the articulation of the word, the services are always lit. Every time he is to preside over a church service, his able assistants aid him in putting on his apostolic vestments. As a young lad, John Paul discovered a special gift and a vocation from within.
For sure, I know I was born with a calling to serve and minister God. I didn't used to behave so much like just a normal boy. I was so much into gathering the kids, preaching to them, listening to gospel music.
When Apostle John Paul was ordained, his childhood dreams came true and has since served in different churches. Close to 2 decades now, Apostle John Paul hardly misses a church service and can tell of the few times he has failed to.
It was that Sunday morning when I just got sick and it became worse. And so I had to, I became unconscious. One thing I only remember is telling whoever I was with the hospital I would want us to run to. Because I actually told them, I don't think we shall get to St. Francis when I am still alive. And when I woke up and found myself, I am in hospital. That morning, we had planned with the one who gave me the backup in church when we are singing, even the song that we were to sing that Sunday. I became so mad because I felt now this is, and I felt I have not done something I was supposed to do.
He is passionate about his calling, and the Great Commission has been his agenda. As he proclaims the power of Jesus in our weakness, his posture and speech can tell that all is not well. But who is Apostle John Paul Moses Macharia?
I was born and raised in Kîeha County. My dad died when I was still a small boy, and from there I was raised by my mom only as a single mother until now when I became a teenager and started working for myself. My life was full of strain and struggle because from the time my dad passed on, my mom went through a lot of challenges. She had to go to people's farms to try and work for them so that she can feed us. And the strain continued to a point now there was a dispute between her and the family of my father, which subjected to her taking us to her mother's place, my grandmom.
Raised closely by his grandmother, John Paul faced rejection from a tender age.
Because of the way my grandmom embraced me, because even anytime there would be any differences between my mother and the family of my father, my grandmom now used to talk more about me, and she used to own me.
Despite all the childhood challenges, he was privileged enough to go through primary school.
I remember I went to my aunt and I told her, Auntie, I've come because I want you to take me to school. He told me, Dad, you know I don't have money. But I told her, Auntie, you have to know what you shall do, because today I want you to take me to school, or I will take myself. And when I started proceeding, now my aunt told me, I only have 500 shillings. And I told her, that is enough, let us go. So even on the way to the school, I went preaching to my aunt. I want you to trust in God that when we get there, they will have mercy on me and accept me. Although it was a big struggle, because you know I didn't have the school fees. So I was always out of school. Even many people whom we schooled together, not many of them who knows me. Only those who are so much close to me, or those who we came from the same village, because most of the time I was out of school. And I always used to plead with the principal so that I can be accepted to go to school for the exam. Because when I am out of school, I used even to go to primary teachers and beg them to now give me a coach so that I can understand some few things. And by the grace of God, I managed to get to Form 4. I did my KCSE, and I get to, in my opinion, with the strain and struggle, I always say I did my best, because in Form 4 I got a C+.
Upon clearing high school, he got into a relation and soon a child was born.
They used to call them unwanted babies, but mine, I always say she was wanted because she was a blessing to me.
Even before he could settle down with his family, an opportunity opened up for him to join the ministry, and he traveled out of the country.
After some years, that's when I came back to the country, and I had to look now to the mother of my child. We did a wedding, and we decided now we have to move on as husband and wife.
Together with his wife Rachel, they started a ministry of reaching out to the needy children in the community.
Now we continued that way with the ministry and the charity, until now when I started becoming sick in 2018. My sickness came, it was a sudden sickness. I started developing nausea until that one night when I had a very bad and severe stomachache. I had to call everybody. You people, you know you should come, because I'm dying. And now from there it developed to vomiting a lot, diarrheaing a lot, and it continued non-stop. The following day I was admitted.
One condition after another, the doctors ran a number of tests without getting to the root cause of his ailment.
So I started now being referred to physicians, gastroenterologists, psychiatric, to a point now, because I continued with the imagings, endoscopy. They said they have noticed a lot of inflammations, and now I was referred to an ENT, and even after checking on me, he proposed that we do tonsillectomy.
Years into misdiagnosis, his condition was fast getting out of hand.
I now started bleeding until now, when now I was referred to a certain gastroenterologist who proposed that I should go now to be operated, they opened my stomach to now address the issue that was in the stomach. I did a procedure that was known as knee-centered duplication. After that procedure, the doctors had hope that I'll get well. But after that, it became worse. It became worse. Now the pain became too much, the bleeding became too much, the vomiting became too much, the diarrhea became too much, the pain became too much. I remember it was until year 2021, now when the doctor started suspecting it could be colon cancer. Because I remember there's one doctor who told my mother, then I was with my mother, and he told her, you know, I have been doing some research about this issue, and I can tell you with conviction that your son has cancer. And so my mom asked him, do you want to tell me that my son has cancer? The doctor said yes. You said cancer, the doctor said yes. Now that started another problem, because my mom could not hold it.
They finally got a proper diagnosis that opened a can of worms, changing their lives forever. I do, in sickness and in health, till death do us part, are some of the famous lines in marriage vows. But how many live up to these vows to have their happily ever after? This young couple was devastated by the doctor's report, as John Paul's body was growing weaker and frail every passing minute. He had taken a break from work, and his wife Rachel had to fully step in.
There's Rachel's families who are in Dubai, so there are things we used to go for in Dubai, and we bring here in Kenya and sell them to some people who has shops in town. So I had sent her in Dubai, and she had to stay there for some times, but unfortunately that year 2020, in December date 22, Rachel got an accident. They were studying somewhere. The uncle is the one who called me, because her uncle is in Dubai, but him and his family has stayed there for long. He called me and told me there was an accident that happened, and a truck lost control, and it had hit a lot of people. I remember telling him there were 43 of them, and by bad luck, Rachel was among them, and we have lost her.
His wife's demise left the family between a rock and a hard place. They laid Rachel to rest and embarked onto the journey to health.
When the doctor talked about me being with cancer, my mom couldn't hold it, because from there she started becoming so much disturbed, and she used to always ask me, and now that the doctor said that you have cancer, you know, I've seen many patients with cancer and they don't end up well, and I don't think as your mother I can stand watching you as you die of cancer.
Though she was away from her son, her mental health was deteriorating, and in September 2021,
my mom called me that morning, and she told me, I just felt I want to say hi, to know how you slept, did you sleep well? And because you know, this sickness caused a lot of complications in my body. And because I developed a problem with my liver, the doctors told me they have noticed I have a growth at the liver, and even the kidneys, they said they have noticed some knobs growing in 2 of my kidneys. And again, my backbone failed, because that colon cancer is here at the center of the cord. And also, there was a time I was told my heart had some fluid, so it was being removed from here. And again, there are times my lungs collapse, and when my lungs collapse, I can't speak. I always train to speak, but the voice cannot come out. And that day, my mom was always at lungs. And what are the doctors saying? Are they saying that those lungs will get well? Now, she wasn't asking about if this cancer will be cured or about anything else. He was asking, did the doctor say that those lungs will get well? And I used to tell her many times, because that day she called like 7 times. Yes, ma'am. The doctor said I'll get well.
The persistent calls from his mother left a lot of anxiety in him, and he decided to visit her early the next day.
We reached at a place called Kabiti, and I called my sister and told her, we are at Kabiti on our way to Nanyuki, and I hope mom has woken up, and I hope Mukimo is getting ready. So my sister told me, if you are coming, just come. And I had some friends of mine, but I'm not the one who was driving. Someone else was driving, and I told them, I don't know why my sister have given me that kind of a weird answer, and I started getting bothered, and we moved on until when we reached to Karatina. Past Karatina, like 3 kilometers. Now my brother called me and told me, where are you? And I was told that you are coming. I told him I'm even almost, because we are past Karatina. He told me, you should come fast because here things are not well. And I asked her, what is wrong? She told me that mom has passed on. And I asked him, what have you said? He repeated, mom has passed on.
That was the hardest and saddest news no one expects to hear. Seeing the lifeless body of his mother lying in a police car rushed his spirit. His world was shattered.
What has killed my mother is what was spoken, that I have cancer. And one thing that tortures me a lot every time I think about this sickness is that this sickness killed my mother.
His mother was laid to rest, and Apostle John Paul was left to fight on, but this time all by himself.
Sisi wakati my mama aliaga, our family abandoned us. Hata hakuna mwenye alitufuata, hata simu. Najaribu mimi mwenyewe kuwabeg. Naambia uncle, si unitumie just a thousand ninunulie brandagu dawa. Unasikia wanakudanganya, mwingine anakublock. So ni ngumu wenye familia wanaishi hivyo. Mimi naweza waombea Mungu sana. They have that love ya familia.
I always say, and I told them, I have now proved the only blood family that was connecting me, and the only blood family that I have, or that I was left with, is my sister, not any one of you.
When we are in dire need of support, family and friends may abandon us, but God will never forsake us. Apostle John Paul has since found a family and made new friends.
Nikampenda tu hivyo na nikaendelea kumuombea mpaka pahali kukafika nikawa nalia sana. Akilia na mimi ninalia. Nikauliza Mungu, huyu mtumishi wako analia for help, unataka nimsaidie aje? Cause hiyo milioni 5.6 siwezi nikapata. Ndivyo nikasikia nimewekelewa mzigo, nikaambiwa muombe.
There's something my mom used to tell me. If I would go a journey that someone never comes back, this Mama Kanisa who always cry and pray for you is your mother. And what you can do to me, do it to her.
Ni kuwashikilia tu katika huduma, moral support na chochote kile tu kinahitajika na mahali sasa natakikana. Nasimama tu kama mzazi. Vile tu mnakaa na mama yako kwenyu ama vile tu mama anaishi katika nyumba. Ni hivyo tu kile kinatakana na halafu na upande wa church.
Na tena nashukuru sana for the brothers tulipewa na Mungu, the sisters Mungu alitupatia juu wamejaribu sana kupigana na hiyo vita ya John Paul, kumshikilia. Sometimes hata wakati si uko karibu, kuna wenye wako karibu na yeye wakiona kama hana raha, kuna mwenye anajaribu kumkeep busy, you see. So hiyo ndio life.
Apart from serving God in his ministry, Apostle John Paul has been carrying on with the charity they started with his late wife.
I have adopted 13 kids. I'm the one who pay for their school fees and make sure they are okay. And here there is cancer. So there was a time it was hard, very hard for us, because my kid had to go around this area with friars trying to look for some coins so that at least we can get food, we can get medication. It has been a very tough journey.
And when times are hard,
I always tell them something very simple. My kids, you know I'm your loving dad who always love to make his kids happy, to provide for you, and to always make sure you are content and comfortable. One thing I want you to keep in your mind and in your heart. It has been well with us. It is not well right now, but it shall be well forever and ever.
cancer is a painful and an exorbitant disease to treat. Apostle John Paul has deprived his resources in pursuit of his health, having to take over 107 tablets a day and more stronger infusions when all the tablets fail. However, he has been scheduled for a more specialized treatment that would be the ultimate goal of his health.
The whole procedure will cost 5.6 million. Now, I started now the journey of looking for the 5.6 million, and it became so hard because now, you know, I'm always in and out of hospital and taking medicines. I have kids I'm taking care of.
It has been 5 years of calamity, courageously walking through the valley of the shadow of death. But what keeps him going?
The love I have for God. Because not once, not twice, not thrice, those who has been walking this journey with me have ever thought, now I do not think by morning he will be alive. I do not think by evening he will be alive. But by God's grace and by the power of the blood of Jesus, by that morning I am still alive and sober. By that evening I am still alive and sober. And what they always do, the way you've seen them, it is just praying and crying to God. That's what has kept me alive. And that is one big reason why I always feel I am so much in love with God. I have that strong affection and passion to serve God because it is His wonders and mercies that has kept me alive today. Actually, I'm always so much humbled when many people tell me, I feel so much humbled because of you, the way you are ministering God, without ceasing, without giving up, without complaining. And I even ask myself, what have I been doing? There are even people who tell me, I've decided to get saved because of you. I just love your faith and I just love the way you are ministering God in the situation you are in.
And to anyone who is fighting cancer,
don't give up. The Bible says, he is cursed, whoever depends on a man. He is like a seed that is planted on a rock. Don't think of your family. Don't even think of your close friend. Don't even think of someone who thought that he or she loves and cares a lot about you. It is only when you are in the midst of the calamity you will know who cares for you. And in the midst of the calamity, it is God who will send the right person to come and stand with you and walk with you until the end of the Lord.
It is our prayer and our hope that God will fight for Apostle John Paul and soon he will be back on his feet.